The Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose badly to the San Francisco 49ers in one of the bigger blowouts, I have to imagine, of Brady's career here. As, listen, several ways we can go with this. I think if you're expecting me to rant and scream and be very annoyed, probably not much of that. Maybe a little bit of that in this video, but I think for the most part, I won't be doing that, because the reality is, there's two ways to take this. First, and again, this is just going to be my thoughts as a Buccaneers fan. I feel like I've been doing these the past few weeks. It's been kind of fun, so we're going to keep doing it. The first and I think most obvious thing is, obviously it sucks to lose by that much. I mean, losing by that much it's embarrassing. It's not fun to watch as a fan. You want to at least stay competitive, because that's more interesting. And it just feels like this is a team that, isn't very good. I think that they're not a great team. I think that's obviously part of it. Is their defense has usually been good, and when the defense isn't playing well, this is just not a great football team. Brady had a poor day in this one. I'm not going to hold some of that fourth quarter stuff against him too much, because it was raining by then, or I should say second half stuff. But even early on, he was missing throws. Obviously, that one to Mike Evans on the fourth down in the end zone, which if that's a touchdown, hey, it's 21-7. It's a game. Obviously, there was that big touchdown to Mike Evans early on that could have made it 7-7, which obviously would have made it a game. And I think about that play, and I think about, when that happened, I saw Mike Evans open, and my first thought was oh no, something's going to go wrong. He's going to drop it. Something's going to go wrong. Because, that's just where my mind is at now as a Buccaneers fan. Nothing seemingly good happens. I don't want to say nothing good happens, but on offense, unless it's in a 2-minute drill, nothing seemingly good happens in this situation. So, of course, it's not going to happen. He makes the catch. He gets into the end zone. I'm finally excited. And then, of course, the flag. Donovan Smith, who, not had his best season. I still think Donovan Smith is a good player. He's not having a good season, though. He's been terrible this season. I mean, that's just, I feel like he's probably playing hurt or something, but I don't know what's happened, but he has not played well. Some people speculated maybe not having Ali Marpet next to him is why he struggled. I have no idea, but he's not playing well. I mean, that's just the reality of it, and the offensive line as a whole is not playing well. And again, the receiving core was fine in this game. I didn't think they were an issue necessarily. We did get guys open in this one, which we hadn't had happen in some other games. So that was nice to see. But when Brady's playing poorly, which he was, I mean, Brady was not a good quarterback in this one. It's tough. And, I do think it's fair to criticize Brady. I think we have to criticize Brady when we talk about what's going wrong. He's been so good in a couple of these 2-minute drills, right? We've still seen the flashes of brilliance from Brady. We saw the flashes with at the end of the Rams game, obviously at the end of the Saints game. That stuff makes you say, "Oh yeah, he is Tom Brady. He can do this." But he isn't playing. He isn't playing like an elite quarterback, which is what the Buccaneers need for him to, for us to have a chance. Brady has to play like an elite quarterback, and he's just not doing it. And I say have a chance. Playoffs is still not a given. And again, this is a game we thought the Buccaneers would lose. The 49ers, very good team. Brock Purdy looked good last week, so we didn't expect him to look like a mess. He looked great in this game, though, which, again, tale as old as time. The Buccaneers getting blown out by a no-name quarterback who just entered the scene. That happens all the time. But, this Buccaneers team feels a little different. But, hey, that's still, that's still what happens. I'm used to it as a Tampa Bay fan. Sure. Got it. But, still, it was, I thought Purdy played well. I think you have to give him a lot of credit. Hey, he played well. 49ers scheme guys open, gives the Buccaneers some trouble. We've seen this a couple times now when the Buccaneers go up against a really good offense. We saw it against Kansas City as well, kind of getting crushed a little bit. You don't love to see that, but at the end of the day, it's still not the defense's fault that this season has gone off the rails. The defense has, I think, overperformed expectations, but you would like to see them maybe play a little better in these games. Vita Vea getting hurt obviously sucks, given this game especially. But yeah, I want to talk about playoffs for a second. Will the Buccaneers make the playoffs? It's a question we have to ask at this point. It seemed like a given, but, their remaining schedule, they play Cincinnati, and then they play Arizona, Carolina, and Atlanta. Those are their 4 final games. And I think a lot of people were saying, okay, conventional wisdom says that they lose to Cincinnati, but then win the next 3. Beat Arizona, beat Carolina, and beat Atlanta. But that's definitely not a given that you're going to go 3-1 down the stretch, given the losses we've seen them have. And I said in a video I then never posted because the Buccaneers came back and won. As I was recording when they were down 2 scores, I recorded a video for that one, and I said, like, does this team deserve to make the playoffs? I kind of don't want to see them make the playoffs. It's kind of just, dragging out the inevitable. Well, the reality is they're probably going to have to play a game for a playoff spot. Now, the nice thing about Atlanta, because those are the 3 teams. I think New Orleans is another game back. I think that they're in too tough of a spot. But, Atlanta, they play the Saints, they play the Ravens, and then the Cardinals and Buccaneers. So they're saying if they go 3-1, they need the Buccaneers to go 2-2. So if you're the Buccaneers, hey, which would happen if they win that game and Buccaneers lose to Cincinnati. So there's a very real chance that for Atlanta, if they go 2-1 down the stretch, that Week 18 matchup would be for the division. That's a possibility. For Carolina, it's a very similar thing where they have a situation where if they just win their games, they can potentially get into the playoffs. They play the Steelers, they play the Lions, they play the Buccaneers, and then the Saints. But the thing that they have that the Buccaneers do not have is they are just a game back. So while Atlanta has to be tied with Tampa Bay Week 18, the Panthers, all they have to do is be a game back, and that could be for the division. I mean, there's a very real chance that for Carolina, all they have to do is win one of the next 2, most likely. If Tampa Bay loses to Cincinnati, if Carolina just either beats Pittsburgh or beats Detroit, goes 1-1, all they have to do then is beat Tampa Bay Week 17 and then beat the Saints Week 18, and they are in the playoffs, assuming Atlanta doesn't catch past them in that scenario. So all this being said, it's a tough spot for Tampa Bay right now. It is not a guaranteed playoff berth, and I don't even know what the odds are right now. They're still the favorites because they do have that game lead, and they do currently have the 1 win over Atlanta right now. So they're still the favorites. You still think Tampa Bay, all you have to do is win your divisional matchup games, which they have done this season. That's the one good thing they've done this season. There were some nice things in this game. I'll say that as well. I'll say that there were some flashes in this one. Like the fact that Mike Evans is getting open that far down the field is nice to see. You hope that, you wish that could happen on plays that he actually could get a touchdown on, because that's happened twice this year where he had that drop earlier on in the season. I believe that was against Carolina, and then this time with it getting called back. So it's nice to see that stuff happening. Again, there still are some flashes. We finally got a turnover for what feels like the first time in forever. And, a couple could have been 2 if it wasn't for, a play that got called back, which, again, some people are going to blame the refs. Like, guys, the way this game went, you cannot blame the refs for it. That's how I view it. I'm not a blame the refs guy, though. So I never blame the refs. Almost never. Every now and then, there's one where you can blame the refs. But as a whole, just a tough loss. I mean, again, not the fact that they lost. Losing this game was expected, but losing this game and getting completely crushed, it's disappointing, man. I mean, I know Brady, invited 100 people to see this game, and it did not go particularly well. And, again, Brady didn't play well. Like, that's the other thing. Brady's accuracy, his arm strength, I feel like still seems there, although he did miss underthrow a Scotty Miller thing. But the accuracy is not quite there, and I don't know. He played well early on this season, but the reality is, has Brady played like typical Brady? No, he hasn't. And that's an element of it. For sure, there's been a lot of issues. Putting it all on Brady is frustrating. But this is the first time in a while I'm not coming on here saying we got to fire all the coaches, which I still don't. I hate this coaching staff. I still don't think they're very good. But there's more issues at play here. So we'll see. Hey, beat Cincinnati next week, and then it feels like the playoffs are a given. I still feel okay about the playoff spot, but the reality is they're probably going to be in a situation where they have to win Week 17 and Week 18. Very good chance. They'll certainly have to win at least one of those games, I feel have to. But the reality is they're probably going to have to beat Arizona, Carolina, and Atlanta to get in. That's probably what's going to happen. Maybe you could lose one of those games, but it seems unlikely. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.